My lords, I have on a number of occasions here in your lordship's house stressed that investors, be they domestic or foreign, international or private or institutional, are willing to tolerate high taxes or regulation, but not both. It is the government's job to calibrate and recalibrate this delicate balance in the pursuit of investment and growth. With respect to the rise in employer national insurance contributions, there are at least 4 reasons that indicate a rethink of this policy is urgently required. First, as has already been mentioned, there is the tangible impacts that this tax rise will have on the economy in terms of actual and forecast employment. The Confederation of British Industry, the CBI, expects higher employment costs to reduce jobs in the private sector by 176,000 at the end of 2026, and for business investment to be down by £6 billion. Already, job creation in Britain is falling, with data showing that in the 3 months to November 2024, job vacancies reached their lowest number since May 2021, at approximately 818,000, indicating low job creation in the United Kingdom's economy. Clearly, a tax increase on employers will only worsen the prospects for job creation. Second, this national insurance rise adds inflationary pressure. The Office of Budget Responsibility, the OBR, expects that in the near term, higher NI will add 0.2% to the consumer price index as a result of firms passing on part of the costs to consumer prices. This is of particular concern, as inflation at 2.6% last November remains above the 2% Bank of England target. And I imagine my noble lords would have seen today that Germany has already seen a higher print in its inflation, which I think is very worrying for us. These factors make the prospects for economic growth worse, not better, particularly after the last two consecutive months under a Labour government of flatlining growth. Third, over time, and all being equal, this tax-induced low economic growth will reduce the government's tax take and bring real vulnerabilities around fiscal stability and funding of public services, the very reason that we've been told for this tax rise in the first place. Fourth, and perhaps most damaging, is the message that this tax rise sends to private sector investors and to business. This tax adds to an already expanding list of reasons for investors not to see the UK as a serious destination for the levels of investment and business that could drive economic growth. Already, according to a June 2024 report by the IPPR, Britain has the lowest investment rate of any G7 country, 17% of GDP, while the rest are above 20%. Worse still, this economy has trailed other G7 countries in investment for 30 years, since the 1990s. This situation is not making that situation better. It is worth stressing that if the United Kingdom had maintained an average G7 investment level over the past 30 years, it could have added £1.9 trillion of investment, or 80% of the country's annual GDP. My lords, the story gets worse. Recent reports state that the London Stock Exchange is on course for its worst year for departures since the 2008 global financial crisis. This tax doesn't help reverse that situation. According to the London Stock Exchange Group, in 2024, a net total of 70 companies delisted or transferred their primary listings from London's main market. The number of new listings is on course to be the lowest in 15 years as initial public offerings remain scarce. My lords, it is impossible to see a path to long-term sustainable economic growth without a vibrant capital market. Therefore, it is essential to make the UK more attractive to companies and employers and to broader capital markets formation. But this tax does not do that. Meanwhile, my lords, as already has been intimated, small and medium enterprises are a centerpiece of any country's economic success, and clearly of this economy too. Yet over 80% of Britain's 5.5 million SMEs will be impacted by this tax. These trends underscore a more fundamental and structural point, that the UK is in danger of being seen as a place where investment and risk-taking is inadvertently discouraged, and where risk-takers face unlimited downside, but their upside is constrained by taxes and curtailed by what is seen as an unwelcoming business and investment environment. Furthermore, this tax will undermine efforts by the government to boost the UK's attractiveness through its own proposed market reforms. If this bill ultimately progresses, it adds to the UK's growing reputation as a place where you can certainly lose, but not easily win. My lords, I began my remarks today by stating that business can accommodate high taxes or high regulation, but not both. The government has spoken about reducing regulatory burdens, and this is to the point of what should we be doing instead. Reduce regulatory burdens is an obvious one. This is where it should focus its efforts, and it should be accelerated. My lords, this government must reconsider the increase in employers' NI, specifically looking at, for example, raising the threshold above £5,000. This alone